Jane Austen's timeless story of love, pride, and first impressions. It is a truth universally acknowledged, that a single man in possession of a good fortune, must be in want of a wife. With these famous words, Jane Austen begins Pride and Prejudice, one of the most beloved novels in English literature. Published in 1813, the novel takes us into 19th-century England, where marriage was not simply about love. For many families, it was also about money, social position, security, and reputation. At the center of this world is Elizabeth Bennet, an intelligent, confident, and independent young woman. Elizabeth is the second of 5 Bennet sisters. Her mother, Mrs. Bennet, is determined to see all of her daughters married to wealthy men. And when a rich young gentleman named Mr. Bingley arrives in the neighborhood, Mrs. Bennet immediately sees an opportunity. Bingley is friendly, wealthy, and charming. At a local ball, he becomes attracted to Elizabeth's older sister, Jane Bennet. Jane is beautiful, kind, and gentle. The two quickly develop feelings for each other. But another man at the ball attracts Elizabeth's attention for a very different reason. His name is Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy. Darcy is extremely wealthy and intelligent, but he appears proud, distant, and unfriendly. When Elizabeth hears him refuse to dance with her, she immediately forms a negative opinion of him. And this is where the novel's central conflict begins. Elizabeth judges Darcy by his behavior. Darcy, meanwhile, becomes increasingly attracted to Elizabeth despite believing that her family has an unsuitable social position. Neither of them understands the other. Elizabeth thinks Darcy is arrogant. Darcy thinks Elizabeth is charming but socially beneath him. Their first impressions become the foundation of a complicated relationship. Meanwhile, Jane and Bingley's relationship appears to be moving forward. But Darcy becomes concerned about Bingley's attachment to Jane. He believes that the Bennet family's behavior and social connections could damage Bingley's reputation. Eventually, Darcy secretly encourages Bingley to leave the area. Jane is heartbroken. Elizabeth becomes even more convinced that Darcy is a cruel and selfish man. Then another man enters the story. His name is Mr. Wickham. Wickham is charming and attractive, and he tells Elizabeth that Darcy treated him terribly in the past. Elizabeth believes him. Everything she already thinks about Darcy now seems to have been confirmed. But Elizabeth does not yet know the whole truth. As the story continues, Elizabeth visits Darcy's estate, Pemberley. There, she begins to see a different side of him. She learns that Darcy is respected by the people who know him. She discovers that he is generous and thoughtful. And most importantly, she realizes that the man she believed she understood may not be the man she imagined. Then comes one of the most important moments in the novel. Darcy proposes marriage to Elizabeth. But his proposal is not romantic. He admits that he has struggled against his feelings because of the differences between their families and social positions. Elizabeth is furious. She refuses him. She accuses Darcy of separating Jane and Bingley and of mistreating Wickham. Darcy is deeply hurt. But instead of simply arguing with her, he gives Elizabeth a letter explaining the truth. The letter changes everything. Elizabeth discovers that Wickham has deceived her. He was not the innocent victim she believed him to be. She also learns that Darcy had genuinely tried to protect Bingley from what he believed was an unsuitable marriage. For the first time, Elizabeth realizes that she has made a serious mistake. She had been so confident in her judgment that she failed to question her own assumptions. She had been influenced by prejudice. And Darcy had been controlled by pride. This is the heart of Jane Austen's novel. Neither Elizabeth nor Darcy is perfect. Both must change. Elizabeth must learn that intelligence does not make her immune to mistakes. Darcy must learn that wealth and social status do not make him superior to others. Their relationship begins to change when they become capable of seeing each other honestly. But the story still has one major crisis. Elizabeth's youngest sister, Lydia, runs away with Wickham. For the Bennet family, this could be a devastating scandal. In their society, Lydia's behavior could damage the reputation and future of all her sisters. Elizabeth fears that her family will never recover. But secretly, Darcy intervenes. He finds Lydia and Wickham, arranges their marriage, and protects the Bennet family's reputation. Elizabeth eventually discovers what Darcy has done. Now she sees him completely differently. The proud and distant man she once hated has shown extraordinary generosity without expecting praise. At the same time, Bingley returns. He and Jane finally reunite, and their love leads to marriage. Elizabeth's relationship with Darcy also reaches its final turning point. This time, Darcy approaches her with humility. And this time, Elizabeth understands her own feelings. She accepts his proposal. Their love is not simply the result of attraction. It is the result of personal growth. They have learned to overcome their pride and their prejudices. That is why Pride and Prejudice remains so powerful more than 2 centuries after it was written. Jane Austen was not simply telling a love story. She was examining society. She was questioning the importance placed on wealth, class, marriage, manners, and reputation. And she did it with intelligence, humor, and unforgettable characters. Elizabeth Bennet became one of literature's most admired heroines because she refuses to accept a marriage simply for money or social security. She wants something more. She wants respect. She wants understanding. And ultimately, she finds love with someone who learns to respect her as an equal. Darcy, meanwhile, discovers that true character matters more than social status. Together, they represent the transformation at the heart of the novel. Pride can prevent us from seeing the truth. Prejudice can make us judge people before we understand them. But people can change. They can admit their mistakes. And sometimes, when we are willing to look beyond our first impressions, we discover that the person we misunderstood was the person we were meant to understand. That is the enduring magic of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. It is a story of love, but also a story of self-discovery. A story about first impressions, but also second chances. And above all, it reminds us that sometimes the greatest obstacle between two people is not the distance between them, but the assumptions they carry in their own hearts.